What is going on, you guys? I'm your host, Stacey Cole Morgan, and you're listening to the MorganMan Sports Podcast here on Spotify, Google Podcasts, GoodPod HQ, or wherever you find your preferred podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about former Falcons defense coordinator Ryan Nielsen headed to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and also we are talking about the Call of Duty League Boston Breach Major 1 tournament happening this weekend. So without any further delay, let's go get straight into today's action.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome to the MorganMan Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Cole Morgan. Here on the MorganMan Sports Podcast, we talk Atlanta Falcons news, pre-game predictions, and all other news surrounding the Atlanta Falcons.
Touchdown, Atlanta!
Also on the podcast, we talk Call of Duty League esports, covering Roster Mania, major predictions, COD champs, player trades, and much more to get you ready for every single CDL weekend.
Scuff goes through, and Scuff snaps, wins the one-on-one in optic with the reverse sweep.
If that sounds good with you, put on your Falcons jersey, grab your gaming headset, and let's get this show started. Alright guys, so before we get into all that goodness in today's episode right here, make sure you are hitting that like button, smashing that subscribe button /follow, and totally decimating that download button, guys. You've been absolutely killing it here on the podcast here lately, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the support. And also today, it is a little bit different right here. There's no video version of this podcast because today, the time you're hearing this podcast, this Thursday, the Call of Duty League has just pretty much started the tournament already. So this is going to be like a 4-day weekend right here. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I usually upload my podcast on Fridays. So the winner's bracket round 1 would have already been done and said and over with. And I wouldn't have known I would have known, but at the same time, I wouldn't have known from the podcast recording. So I'm doing you guys a favor right here. If you are interested in the Call of Duty League side of things, by go ahead and releasing this Thursday for the Major 1 tournament. And that will be the same for the Major 2, Major 3, and the Major 4 tournaments. And also for COD champs when that time does come around. And plus too, just doing the audio version makes my life a hell of a lot easier moving forward. So that way I don't have to edit the video, get this and that published, through YouTube and all that. It just makes my life a whole lot more easier. One rendering and boom, I'm done. But the audiogram version, that goes straight to Headliner and then straight to YouTube. So definitely pleased with that. So now since we got all the housekeeping out of the way, let's talk about former Falcons defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen headed to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So everybody has been up in arms about Ryan Nielsen going to Jacksonville. And rightfully so, because he has been one of the best things to happen for the Atlanta Falcons in a very long time. So fans are kind of upset, and I am kind of upset too myself, but at the same time, that just shows that the head coach position could be filled this week right here. And if it is, I'm sorry I'm not covering it right here on the podcast, but I will be tweeting it out and possibly doing videos through TikTok, Instagram, and everything right there. So make sure you are following me on my socials. Just type in MorganMan Sports wherever you find your preferred social media platform at, which about everybody has, a social media platform pretty much. So Ryan Nielsen going to the Jaguars definitely is the right move for Doug Peterson and company right there, because Jacksonville has been without their kind of like elite defense since 2017. And the Falcons needed him, honestly, but he was like, you know what, I'm going to get the heck out of here before I even get fired from this position from the brand new head coach. And if it is Belichick, he's going to bring in Matt Patricia as a defense coordinator. It's about 100% guaranteed. And of course, like Josh McDaniels as OC and just crazy stuff like that. So I'm happy for Ryan Nielsen. He's definitely getting more attention around the league. But at the same time, I hate to see him leave because he was one of the best things to happen for the Falcons for a very long time on the defensive side of the ball. And like I said earlier, if any of the head coaching news breaks out before this podcast is released within 2 days right here, so recording this on Monday, January 22nd at 5:40 p.m., all the way up to Thursday when this podcast is released, which you are obviously hearing it right now. Of course, again, I'll be tweeting it and putting it on TikTok and Instagram. Make sure to follow the socials. So now switching on over, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the Call of Duty League 2024 Boston Breach Major 1 tournament. So your current CDL point standings going into the Major 1 tournament. Atlanta FaZe sitting at a comfortable first place with 70 points, sitting at 7-0, the only undefeated team currently right now in the Call of Duty League, with a 21 map win-loss ratio with 5 losses and 21 wins. Toronto Ultra is sitting at 6-1 with a 18-6 map win-loss ratio. New York Subliners 18-11 map win-loss ratio, 6-1, and then Miami Heretics, they're sitting at 4th place with a 5-2 series record and an 18-8 map win-loss ratio. Optic 4-3 with a 14-13 map win-loss ratio. Then, of course, down through the list, I ain't going to go cover all of this too crazy. But Minnesota Rocker sitting at 6, Surge 7, Gorilla sitting at 8, LA Thieves sitting at 9, Boston Breach is sitting 3rd to last at 10th, Carolina Royal Ravens sitting at 11th, and the Vegas Legion sitting at 12th. So definitely we got a lot of shakeups right here. Atlanta FaZe has definitely been dominant alongside with Toronto Ultra. Outside of a series loss, I forget who they lost to, but it was probably like one of those close, important losses that, like, okay, well, if this one thing would have went right, Toronto would still be also undefeated as well. So, yeah, I mean, looking at it right here, it's obvious that FaZe and Ultra should be probably in the finals. And so the schedule for this Thursday, January 25th, Major 1, Day 1, at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you got the Atlanta FaZe taking on the Los Angeles Guerrillas. 3 p.m., you got New York Subliners taking on Minnesota Rocker. 4:30, you got Toronto Ultra taking on Seattle Surge. And at 6 p.m., you got the Miami Heretics taking on the Optic Texas Squad. So looking at that schedule right there, I'm already going to go ahead and say FaZe wins 3-0 over the Guerrillas, Subliners, and a 3-1 over Rocker, Toronto Ultra, and a 3-0 over Surge, and Miami Heretics 3-2 over Optic. And for your overall bracket, again, I covered basically everything right there, and that, in your elimination bracket, you got LA Thieves, Vegas Legion, Boston Breach, and the Carolina Royal Ravens in that category. So this is going to be an interesting bracket right here because FaZe could possibly face off against Optic again, but Miami Heretics has definitely been a better team over Optic just through this Major 1 series right here, and then we'll go into like a 2-week break after that. So I'm leaning more towards FaZe versus Heretics. That would be the first time right now in this season that FaZe will face off against the Miami Heretics if they beat Optic. But yeah, and so I'm looking at possibly the Royal Ravens and the Vegas Legion honestly being eliminated Friday during the playoff contention for the Major 1 tournament, with Boston Breach and LA Thieves moving on at least into that elimination round 2. But past that, I just don't see them making it any further. Both these bottom 4 teams have just absolutely been terrible so far this season. And the only team that I could really see moving forward that can improve way later in the season is the Boston Breach. I just don't see Royal Ravens or Legion or Thieves even making a push at becoming better. throughout this entire CDL 2024 season. And a team that I think will be a downgrade, honestly, that would, well, whenever I say downgrade, like degress throughout the season, is going to be Rocker. I mean, yes, they're on like a 4-win streak right now, 5-win streak right now, but they're going to digress so much, and I just don't think they're going to be a very competitive team. And yeah, so this is your bracket right here. So I got FaZe winning the whole thing, but who they're going to go up against, I'm going to say it's going to be the Toronto Ultra. I really think so. I think where Toronto Ultra is going to lose at is against FaZe in that winners final. And then Toronto will drop down to elimination round, let's see, 1, 2, 3, elimination round 3 or 4. That's my prediction right there. Maybe elimination round 4, because then that means you go straight there, and then the championship form will be FaZe versus Ultra. And I have FaZe winning that one. What is it? 5-2, 5-3, right in there. Overall series, and the Atlanta FaZe is your Major 1 tournament champions. So, guys, that is my preview of the Major 1 tournament right there. Celium, I should say, definitely get the Major 1 MVP. FaZe wins the whole thing right here, and then we take the 2-week break, and then we're on to the Miami Heretics Major 2 qualifying matches within 2 weeks. But again, guys, I do apologize for an early upload. I know you guys are so used to Fridays, but the Call of Duty League with the Major 1 tournament and future major tournaments are going to be on Thursdays. So this is like kind of like a once in every like month and a half, 2 months right in here. So it ain't going to be too bad. But if you did enjoy today's podcast, everybody, make sure you hit that like button on the audiogram on the YouTube version. Download this podcast. It tremendously does help out, guys. We are closing in really about close to about 11,000 downloads on the podcast for the month of January, and that is absolutely nuts. And guys, I have you to thank for, and I believe getting close to 25 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. So it is tremendously helping out. And again, thank you guys so much. But until then, all right, good morning. We'll catch you all later.